Hello, Internet. Welcome to another channel update. In this episode, we're going to talk about some very serious things. So, if you are sensitive, if you've ever been in a situation with an abuser, or you've ever dealt with someone who has very severe mental illness, this is probably not something you want to listen to. I'm concerned it might trigger some people. But things in my life have taken a turn. I feel bad for keep making these channel update videos instead of making content, but I just honestly I don't get. Tomorrow I have an appointment with my psych. I don't have a lot of friends, and I don't have a lot of people to talk to, and I just wanted to vocalize some things and to let you know kind of what's going on. So because you have not seen what's been going on, I've been very vague about what's going on with me. I just keep saying like, oh, my family life is not very good. So probably about so it starts several months ago. My brother gets in trouble with the law, or actually like 6 or 8 months ago, he got in trouble with the law, but he didn't tell us until about 2 months ago. They're very serious charges, I think I've alluded to these a little bit. I don't feel comfortable talking in detail about it because I don't really know what happened, but it's a very serious, something that he could get 40 years for. So very, very serious crime. His mental health has been deteriorating. About maybe a week ago, my family pulled me aside and talked to me and told me that they didn't feel safe around him, that they were afraid of him, that he hated me and was targeting me, as the person to blame. My brother is my brother had a very serious head injury when he was a baby. He was a little over a year old. He had a very traumatic brain injury. He has permanent brain damage, permanent physical damage that makes it hard for him to live his life. And because of that, he has brain damage and a lot of brain chemistry issues. His last diagnosis was that he was bipolar. That's the last thing I heard, and that was several years ago. He does not take his medicine. He says it turns him into a zombie. And as sad as it is, I do think some people need that when they're dangerous or when they're, so unstable. I think that it is sad. I've heard a lot of people say, you got to understand my life has been spent surrounded by people who are not healthy, people who are not very well. So I've dealt with people who have schizophrenia, and I've been around people who have pretty severe mental illness. And I've heard that complaint a lot, is that the pills don't make me feel right. I feel like a zombie. I feel like I can't think. And I understand that that must be a horrible position to be in. But I also think that in some situations, it's the best thing for that person and for the people around them and for society as a whole. So my brother has very serious brain chemistry issues, has permanent brain damage, and he has not been taking his medication. He has substance abuse problems. He historically has been an alcoholic and done a lot of drugs. And when my family approached me saying that he was not doing very well and that they were afraid of him, they started telling me stories about how he thinks he's under surveillance. Right, keep in mind he's in trouble with the law. He's waiting on a court case basically for him to go to prison. And so obviously, of course, he's under a lot of stress. He's not really working. Something that previously kept him stable was going to work every day and having something to do. He is not in a relationship. He is alone. And being alone compounds things, of course. Certainly I know what that's like. And they told me he believed that people were watching him. He believed that, like, little things, like they would go to a gas station and he would talk about someone, like a homeless man is watching him and writing down information about him, or they would get stuck in traffic and he would believe that the people in traffic were observing him. He told her about how he plays a game on his phone and how it's so amazing, the whole world can see me when I'm playing, and just language that is very indicative of delusions. And it reminds me a lot of the schizophrenics that I've interacted with over the years. So he was deteriorating, but there's not a lot you can do for an adult. He's 30. We can't force him to get treatment. And my family has historically been enablers. They will let him do whatever he wants, and just enable him to do that. They refuse to put their foot down. I kept encouraging them. I said, if he ever threatens you, if you ever feel unsafe, you need to call the police, or call me and I will call the police, because they're unwilling to do that. And she even said in that conversation, no, that would be a betrayal. I'm not going to betray him. And so I knew things were bad. I didn't feel safe. He blames me for things. My brother is incapable of taking personal responsibility for anything. I'm sure with his court case, I'm sure he blames the victim. I'm sure that he blames everyone but himself. He like it's so interesting because like he would go out and get drunk all the time. And then we had a conversation about a month ago, and I said, "You're getting drunk all the time." And he said, "I haven't drunk in a long time." And I said, "Well, how long is a long time? Because it seems like I just came in here and you were passed out on the floor unconscious." And he said, "Oh, it's been like 2 weeks." And I told him, like, and he said, like, "Oh, everybody holds it against me, but I've been clean for a long time." And I'm like, it's only been 2 weeks. That's not long enough. Like, you have to understand, people will hold things against you for a period of time. You need to live with the consequences of the things that you do. You've historically been an alcoholic who does drugs. Of course, we are concerned. Of course, we think you're getting drunk. It was 2 weeks ago, you know. But my brother does not believe in accountability. He's not responsible for his own actions. Everything that happens to him, he loses his job, he loses his kid, he loses his house. All of those things he places at the feet of other people because he's unwilling to say, this is because of life choices that I made that ruined my life. And it's frustrating to be on the outside, and I'm someone who, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. And the only reason that I'm in anywhere near the mental shape that I'm in is because I took accountability. You know, I took ownership of the things that I did, because that's like step one. You know, regardless of what your crime is or what bad thing you do in your life, the first step is acknowledging that you did that, and that it was your own choices, your own decisions that put you in this position, and then moving on from there to grow and be a better person. And my brother, part of it is his mental limitations. He does have mental limitations. I'm sure he doesn't fully understand it the way that a neurotypical person would understand it. But a lot of it is just his upbringing, you know. I was like that too when I was young, and he just never, they enabled him to the point where he never had to take responsibility for what he does. So about a week ago, they told me all this, and it was very concerning. And he targets me. He blames me. I'm the person in the household. This is something that's pretty typical. They will blame people in their family. They will look at whoever's closest to them, who grates their nerves, and they will put all the blame and animosity on that person. So, like, again, I've known a lot of schizophrenics. They often turn on, like, their mothers, because their mothers are the ones who are like, you need to get up, you need to get dressed, you need to do this, you need to do that. And so it's like the only person in their sphere, like in their life, and because they're trying to get them to do things that they don't want to do, they instantly target that person, and over time it grows and grows and grows, and their delusions feed that, and they end up, you know, bludgeoning their mom with a hammer, or getting into a fist fight with their sister or something like that. So at this point, I'm concerned. You know, I encouraged them to call the police. I told them that they can call the police and request a mental health evaluation if they think that he's a danger to himself or to someone in the family. But that's not really good enough. So I went out, I bought a hasp and a padlock, and I installed them on the interior of my door. We have a very old house. Our door knobs and latches don't really work. And yeah, I installed a padlock on the interior of my door because I sleep at night, and I take sleep medications, and I was concerned he might come in while I was sleeping and hurt me. So I was living in fear in my own house, and no one was willing to do anything, and he hadn't really done anything to me that I could call the police and forcibly, you know, make a like a mental health request. So it was just a waiting game until things escalated. So last night I was going to work. It was probably about 1 in the morning, and I heard his music blasting outside, and I was like, normally I would go and tell him, please turn that down. It's very late at night. People are trying to sleep. Oh, the whole neighborhood can hear this. Please show some respect. But I'm didn't want to confront him, and I'm so over it. Like, I'm tired of being the person who tries to rein him in. So I was like, I'm not going to go out and say anything. So I just sat here and put on my headphones and ignored it. And I heard my family moving around, and I heard them go outside to tell him to stop. So the music goes away, and maybe 15 minutes pass, and I have to go to work. So I go outside, and he's like very animated. He's walking back and forth, pacing in front of our porch. I get in my car, start the car. He comes over and knocks on the window. So I put my window down. I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, oh, he wants something. He borrowed a cigarette from me earlier that day. I thought maybe he just wanted a cigarette. So I put my window down, and he leaned in. He was very drunk or high. He was having trouble standing. And I had a cigarette in my mouth, and he patted me on the shoulder and said, "You need to watch yourself out there. Things are," what did he say? He said, "It's on." And he snatched the cigarette out of my mouth, he broke it, and threw it in my face. And that pissed me off a lot, because, like, I don't know who he thinks he is, but, like, I'm just trying to go to work, and cigarettes are expensive, and I'm so fed up with this crap. So he walked away, so I got out of my car and was like, "What the fuck is your problem? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?" And he was drunk or high, so he was doing that thing that drunk people do where he just repeats what I say back to me. So I was like, what the fuck? Why, what the fuck is your problem? And he's like, "What the fuck is your problem?" And I said, what is wrong with you? And he said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "You're drunk, go in the house, you're drunk." He says, "I'm not drunk." I was like, okay. And he gets up in my face, and I think he's going to hit me, but I've been around the block, and I'm big and tough, and he has some physical limitations, so I wasn't concerned about my safety. I was watching his hand. He only has one good hand. And I looked at his hand because I thought he might have a knife, so I was keeping an eye on his hand, and I felt comfortable, like I could defend myself if I had to. And I was like, "What? Why do you hate me? Like, I didn't do anything to you. Why do you hate me so much?" And he said something like, "You own this house," which I literally don't own the house, so I have no idea if that's what he meant. But I think what he meant is that I run the place, like people listen to me, which is also not true, because I've been encouraging my family for a long time to take steps and protect themselves against him, because he is the way he is. And they don't listen to me. But again, he's delusional. So in his head, he thinks that, I'm against him, that everyone's working against him. He's paranoid. So I go to work, and I drive up the road here, probably like 45 seconds from my house, and it's 35 the whole way. And a car comes shooting up behind me, and they must be going like 55 miles an hour. And at this point, I'm scared, because I think that it's my brother who stole. I thought he's not allowed to drive. I thought he stole our family's car and was coming to run me off the road. So I put my blinkers on, and I actually had the thought. I was like, if he's going to hit me, I should be stopped. That way they can clearly see that I was stopped and that he charged into me anyway, like as evidence that he is unstable and violent and all this stuff. So I pulled off the side of the road, and turned out it was a cop who was behind me. So I just looked like very suspicious, pulling off the side of the road. And they asked me what I was doing, and I had some of my work stuff, so I just showed them and was like, "Oh, I'm going to work." And I was shaking, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, just got into an argument with my brother. I kind of thought he had taken the car and was running me down. He said, "Oh, did it get physical?" I said, "No, he was in my face and shouting and stuff, but, he didn't hit me or anything. We just had an argument. He was drunk, he has real mental health problems." And he said, "Well, are you going to be okay? Is it safe for you to go home?" I said, "Well, I'll probably come home and he might have smashed up some of my stuff, but that's a problem for tomorrow. I can't really deal with it now. I have to go to work." So they turned me loose. Well, he asked me where I lived, and I told him where I lived. And I went off to work, and so I drove another like 8 minutes to work, and my family member called me, and she said that don't come home. Your brother said that he was planning to kill you. Basically, he called my mother and told her he had been planning to kill me. And my sister had called my house here to let my family know, like, hey, get him out of the house, make sure he's safe because he's been planning to kill him. So she told me not to come home, but I'm at work, so I told her I'm at work. I wouldn't be home until like 4 or 5 hours later. I told her to lock the door because he's not okay and you need to be safe. She said she wouldn't do that, which I thought, like, she said, oh, I'm not going to do that. He'll be out there screaming and hollering and acting crazy, making a scene. And I said, fucking let him. What if he gets in there? What if he tries to hurt you because you're there and he's angry and. But anyway, so I'm working and like I gotta do a bunch of work stuff. So it's like 30 minutes before I can leave work. Like I drive for a living, but I have to meet at my actual like job location first, do some stuff, take care of some business, then I go out and do my route. So I'm at my actual like work location, a little warehouse thing, and I'm just stewing because like I want to go home. I want to make sure my family is safe, but they keep telling me to stay away. The police are on their way. They've already been called. So I just did my work. I tried not to think about it, but I couldn't help it. All I could do is think about my family being in danger and waiting for them, hoping that they'll call me and say, oh, the police are here. We're safe. It's okay. Didn't get that call until probably about 40 minutes later. I had decided that I was going to go home. Regardless of what they said, I wanted to make sure everyone was safe. And I decided, like, if I just, drove back to town and kind of got on my street, even just like a couple blocks away, I'd be able to see if there were police. And just that would be enough to verify, like, okay, people might be, it's being resolved. And right as I was getting to my street, she called me and said that the police had taken him to a hospital for a mental health evaluation. We talked a little bit. She was very upset, obviously. We talked a little bit. I told her, this is the first step towards him getting treatment, and getting some help. And we discussed, what our responsibilities are as family members. And I explained to her that as an adult, there's not a lot we can do. That basically it's going to come down to the doctors. If they evaluate him and see that he's unstable, then they'll keep him for, observation and for treatment. But if they deem that he's safe, he can leave. He can check himself out, even if it's against the doctor's recommendation. So apparently he had been planning to kill me, which is upsetting. He, on the phone with my mother, had basically told her, come pick me up so I can kill you. Like he basically told her, I need you to come pick me up. And then he explained that when he would get in the car, he would kill her. He talked about how I was wearing a wire that night. That's what had set him off, is that he believed I was wearing a recording device, which of course is ludicrous. He said about how the factory across the street has been having surveillance on him. They revealed to me that they believed he was smoking crack, which checks out because for a couple weeks now, I've been smelling some strange things from his room, and I couldn't quite place it, but I knew it was drugs. So, like, I went, over to my room and did some Googling, trying to identify different drug smells and stuff. And I kind of narrowed it down to crack or meth. And of course, that's not good for him. Again, he has a mental illness. He has a head injury. His brain chemistry is way out of whack, and then you dump really hardcore drugs on top of that, and it's gonna mess him up. He's dealing with a lot with his court case. Of course he's paranoid. Of course he's nervous. So they took him to a hospital. It's Sunday. I haven't heard anything else yet, but just thinking about how my brother is so mentally ill and thinking about how he could have killed me, like, what if I had not put the padlock on my door? I don't know. I've been asleep. I take sleep medication. Maybe he tried to open my door while I was sleeping and I just didn't know it. What if he had come in one day thinking I was recording him somehow and he hit me in the head with a hammer while I was sleeping, And my family's always been unwilling to take steps and, like, put their foot down. Like if this were my home and he needed a place to stay, I would give him a place to stay, but I would also make sure, like, hey, if you're going to be here, you have a history of a lot of issues with drugs and alcohol. If you want to live here rent free, I'm going to need you to give me like a drug test, which is like a horrible invasion of privacy, but like, I need you to do this in order to live here. I need you to be in treatment. I need to know that you're going to meetings. I need to know that you're seeing a psych. And my family's never been willing to do any of that stuff. So they, just let him go, and it devolved over time. He's very mentally ill, and I mostly feel bad. Like I'm not I'm not even angry. Like I always got frustrated with him, and things are, sometimes he made me angry, but like I'm not angry with him. I'm just very, very sad that this is how far it got, that this is as bad as it is, to where he thinks that people are watching him, and he's like so paranoid, and he's doing very serious drugs, and he's unraveling mentally, and like he has a kid, and custody, partial custody of a kid that we might not get to see her now because he's going to be losing those parental things because he's clearly not okay. So like that's going to be very hard on my family to not see my niece like they normally would. To think about all the people that he hurt, like and all the things that he could have done. He hates me. I didn't do anything, and my brother hates me. And I think this is the thing. I think this is where I cut him off. Like for years he's been a horrible person, and I never cut him off because it always came back to he's a family member, and you look after family, you do your best with family, and nobody's family is perfect. But I think, and honestly, if he were neurotypical, I would have cut him off a long time ago, because if a neurotypical person was making these decisions over and over and over, hurting people over and over and over, I would be done with them. I would scream in their face and throw them out and never look back, and cut them out of my life. Even if he kept living here, because like I'm not the homeowner. Even if he kept living here, I would just never interact with him. I'd tell him to fuck off every time I saw him. But because he's not neurotypical, because I don't know how much of it is mental illness and how much of it is conscious decision, I've never made that decision to be done with him. And I think this is it. I think this is, I think my brother's dead to me now. How do you come back from this? Like, I need time, maybe in a couple years. But like, someone was planning to kill me. Like, it's so, I don't know. But I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about what's going on, because like, I just haven't been making YouTube videos. I had a lot of recording issues, but also like, things have been really bad at my house, and I've been very vague, so I don't think people really understand, because it's been very vague. And I wanted to share, and I just wanted to vocalize it and get it out of me, because like, such a horrible position, I don't even have words. I'm still very numb about it. I'm sad and I'm numb. Like, I don't feel angry, I don't want like, I'm not vindictive. I don't want like super huge punishments for him or anything. I just want him to get help, and I don't want to be around him anymore. And I feel bad. I don't know. Oh, and it just keeps happening, so I'm going to edit this into the video. I went to talk to my family because we hadn't spoken today. I sleep late and they were napping. And I wanted to check on them and make sure that they were okay. So, I asked them how they were doing, what they were feeling, what was going on in their mind. My one relative is a big time worrier, so I knew that this would have been, obviously it's a very difficult situation to be in for anyone, let alone someone who's always worrying. And we talked a little bit, and I explained to them, as best I could, that, no one can force him into treatment. My brother If he wants to leave, we'll probably be permitted to leave unless he starts making threats, which, because of the drug component, it seems like once he sobers up, he's not going to be, you know, making threats and being super obviously crazy. But we'll see. I hate using the word crazy. It's like such a derogatory, nasty word, but like, he's not well. Crazy is not a good word. I shouldn't have used that word. And we were talking, and she started telling me that, oh, like, you know, you should put a new lock on your door on the exterior, because like, what if he goes in there and smashes up all your stuff while you're at work? And I was like, I tried politely to explain to her, like, we can't live, he can't live here, you know, he can't be here. He made death threats against me. What if I go to sleep and he comes in and beats me to death while I'm sleeping? What if he cuts the line to my car, you know, brake lines to my car? What if he, any number of things, you know, he cannot stay here. There's too much risk in him staying here. And they were like, yo, okay, yeah, no. And they were very non-committal about it. And they were like, well, why don't you go get a lock, though, and put it on the outside of your door? And I was frustrated because it's like, number one, if he wants in here, he's coming in, right? The padlock, what's a padlock going to do? If I wanted to get in a door with a padlock, I would kick the door open. Like, it's not hard to circumvent a simple padlock that's held in place by a couple of screws, you know? So there's that. And then secondarily, the only reason I would put a lock on the outside is if he's coming back. Like, I don't need to lock the door if he's never coming back, because then it will be a non-issue. So I came upstairs and was like, okay, well, you know, it's not my house. They're going to make whatever decision they make. I have no control over that. And I was just like, that's such bullshit, you know? Like, it's such bullshit. If he threatened to kill one of them, would they be comfortable letting him come back and live in the house? And the answer is no, that they would not let him come back. And so I went back downstairs and I was like, trying to work myself up to saying it, because like, I don't like conflict and I try to respect my family as much as I can. But I went to him and I was like, I'm sorry, you know, I'm sorry I have to say this, but like, it's ridiculous that you think he can come back here. He cannot come back here. You know, I can't live in the same house as him. I thought about trying to find a room to rent, but I can't afford it, you know. Cheapest room available, like, by, you know, rates of weekly rates for borderline homeless individuals or people who like live that really bare bones minimal bachelor style, where it's one little room, like a prison cell sized room and a shared bathroom, is still like $125 a week minimum, and more like $200 a week. So even if I found a place, I cannot afford to leave. And why the fuck should I leave? I've done nothing wrong. Why should they be uncomfortable in their own house? Why should I feel unsafe at all times? He can't come here. And she says, oh, well, he's going to smash up the neighbors' cars. He's going to make a scene. I told her, you just have to call the police. We can't help him. You know, I can't help my brother. He's mentally ill. There's literally nothing we can do to fix it. There's nothing we can tell him that's going to solve this problem, because he's not well. He's not rational. You cannot argue with a delusional person. They are delusional. And if you confront them about their delusions, it escalates, right? You know, calling the police on him would be the best thing for him, that he could get taken back to the mental health facility. You know, a place where he can be forced to take treatment, a place where he can be forced to take the medication that was prescribed to him. Those things will improve his quality of life. Even if he hates us for it, which he will, even if he hates doing it, it is what is best for him is to be medicated and to talk to professionals. And the only way, like, we can't make him do that. The only thing we can do is when he gets crazy and starts acting out of line and gets amped up, and if he goes around smashing stuff, we call the police, and then he gets taken back to a facility where he can get some care. It sounds cold and heartless, But it is the unfortunate reality of this situation. And I think my family's going to bring him back to this house. How am I supposed to live here? He thinks I'm surveilling him. He thinks I have his phone tapped. He thinks I'm wearing a wire. And I have all this YouTube equipment in here and microphones and stuff. He's going to turn his attention to that at some point, smash all my shit up, possibly assault me while I'm sleeping. How am I supposed to live here? How are they supposed to live with the knowledge that because it's torture. They watch him. He comes and goes. He does drugs. He sits outside on the stoop for 12 hours a day, chain smoking cigarettes, doing God knows what, staring at people who walk by, posturing like he's going to attack someone. It's such a sad, fucked up situation. There's no good answer. And mental health treatment in the United States is shit. We can't force him to get treatment. I explained to them, he's going to get evaluated. It probably won't happen until Monday. So they'll probably hold him at least another day. But if they evaluate him and he presents as a rational person, because he does sometimes, it's like very much a flip, like a switch that gets flipped. He'll go from normal to like psychotic, basically. So if he's normal and he's talking to them, they're going to release him thinking that it was just the drugs. And he's going to want to come home. And we have to be ready to do something about that because we can't just let that happen. And I told them he might get held. If he talks to them and he starts talking about people surveilling him, they will hold him, for his own safety. If they think that he's a danger to me or to someone in the neighborhood, if he thinks people are surveilling him, it's a matter of time until he gets into a fight with someone. Or worse. It's just such a fucked situation. It's so fucked. Internet. I don't know. And there's nothing you can do, of course. There's nothing I can do. And that's part of why mental health in America is not good. Part of why things are a problem. Because someone who is clearly a danger to themselves and other people, if they present normally and typically for a 40-minute meeting, they can be turned loose on the streets again instead of them listening to the family, them listening to all of us talking about how dangerous he is, how unstable he is. He's 30. We can't commit him. There's nothing we can do. The family is powerless. The only person who can make change in his life is himself by seeking treatment and taking his medication. But he's mentally ill. Unless we take away, unless we seek to get power over him, which I don't know the first thing about how to do that, we cannot dictate his treatment. He is the one who will ultimately decide, and then the state if he's dangerous. So, you're looking for a mentally ill person to take control of their mental health treatment and do the right thing for themselves, which is ludicrous. He's obviously not in a position to make these decisions. He's not coherent enough to decide what is in his best interest. But in America, in the United States, there's nothing we can do other than keep calling the cops every time it escalates. It's so fucked. I know I keep saying that, but what do I do? There's nothing I do. I can't do anything. Every night I'm going to go to work. I'm going to walk outside in the dark to my car. He might be out there waiting for me. I'm going to get in my car. He might put sugar in the gas tank. He might, do something to the car. Every night, if he comes home and he lives here, every night I got to go to bed in a house with someone who threatened to kill me. You know what I mean? What am I supposed to do? I can't afford to leave. I keep thinking I should leave, but I can't. I don't have money to leave. I just can't, And why should I leave my house because someone has made death threats against me? He should not be here. And my family, I think, is just going to bring him home again. Anyway, this whole thing's turned out a lot longer than I meant to. This is why, internet, this is why there's been a lack of content. This is why I seem so depressed all the time. This is why I, have made these sad channel update videos. I was trying to hide a lot of it from you because I didn't really want to go overshare. People always tell me that I overshare, but I wanted to talk about it, and I figured I might as well open up and give you some actual details instead of trying to hide things from you. I don't know. It's fucked. On the plus side, I've spoken to my therapist about this a lot. So, like, if he, tries to make up stories about, oh, this hasn't been a problem and there's been no issues or anything like that, I can point to my therapist and say, well, I've been telling them for, 3 months that he's been gradually becoming less and less stable and how scared we are at the house and things. So, like, I have those people who are, like, trained therapists who could back me up a little bit. And last night, like I don't know if I said it in this episode or not, this recording or not, but like I'd gotten pulled over and I told the police about it before they were ever called about my brother. So like there's a record somewhere of police interacting with me where I explained to them like he's drunk, he's really mentally ill. I was concerned he was going to run me off the road. So there's another issue of like there's another instance of it being documented that things are not okay at home. That's really the only plus side I can think about of any of this, is that there's evidence that this was not like a one-time issue. There's evidence that I didn't make this up. There's evidence that my mom didn't make this up. This is not something that we're doing to him. We have like actual proof that he's been really destabilized and is like dead, is just dying, like having a mental breakdown, Anyway, that's enough of that. So if this wasn't enough to change your opinion about how I live and why I'm miserable all the time, probably nothing will. This is the worst thing that's been happening to my family probably in years. The numbness is wearing off. This is like an hour after I recorded the first little bit of this. The numbness is wearing off. I'm becoming frustrated more than anything. And I'm getting really upset with my family for not putting my safety at a higher, like having a higher value on our feeling of safety in our own home. Anyway, that's enough. I should end this. Thanks for watching. Bye.